We are all born upon the cross, the before the toss. You can release yourself, but the only way is down. We don't come alone. We are fire, we are stone. We're the hand that writes, then quickly moves away. We'll know for the first time if we're evil or divine. We're the last in line. When there's thunder, there should be rain, and it don't always follow the rule. Is the wise man always right? No, he can play the fool. It's always a mystery. Not what it seems to be. It's always a mystery. Just like you and me. How we going, folks? Welcome to the Nightmare Cabin. I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. CP Webster, and we are doing a Dio retrospective. Yeah, Chris, how we going, man?
Yeah, good, thank you, and thanks for having me on.
If
Appreciate
you
it.
uh, if you haven't seen it already, Chris was on my show before with Dave Martell, and we had a fantastic chat. One of the best videos I've done on this channel. So yeah, go check out his books under CP Webster. Occult horror, weird tales of the. You do a little mixture of everything, really. You go a bit of Cthulhu mythos, a bit of Lovecraft, but also occult detectives, and there's all sorts of strange goings on in your books. Obviously, you can find him in the Bizarre Archives, and yeah, and if you really want to treat yourself, I highly recommend the Albion trilogy, which you can buy all three books separately, but you can get this lovely chunky edition. This one comes in a hardback as well, doesn't it?
No, not that one.
This one doesn't. All right,
No, because it's too thick.
too thick. But
Yeah, it's great at keeping doors open in windy weather and that kind of thing.
so yeah, I was when I get the spinal thing and all doggy-eared, I was going to replace it with a, mind you, that's something you can look into another time. Maybe you can look into them everyone's crowdfunding these beautiful editions of books now. So um yeah, so last time you was on, we had a great conversation about writing and authors and storytelling, and we put the world to rights, if I remember as well. And we had a chat
Lovely.
afterwards, and we got talking about music. And then it was a couple of days later, I think, and you'd had a couple of beers, and you sent me a
Usual.
message, a big long message about Sabbath and Dio, and and I remember thinking, I've got to get him on again, and we've got to do just music this time. And yeah, I remember you messaging me the next day going, sorry, I had a few last night. It's like, no, mate, this is this is what I love. So yeah, I've been going through my retrospective series. I've done a two-part of Black Sabbath. I've done Ozzy, and now it's time to do Dio's solo career. And yeah, couldn't think of anyone better to have on. So yeah, here we are.
Well,
Um,
thank you. Yeah.
I'm gonna.
No, I just always feel like I should qualify that I am just a fan. I'm not a musician. I played bass when I was about 15 or 16 in a terrible band who never did anything but gig. So I'm not a musician or anything like that, but expert, but I'm just a fan.
Well, you played bass when you were 15, so you're a better musician than me. So um, yeah,
You didn't hear it.
we're we're we could be here. We're going to be here long enough as it is. So we're just going to concentrate tonight on Dio. Uh, you can see a bit more in depth what I think of the Black Sabbath albums on the Sabbath videos I did. There is a Sabbath playlist you can check out. But obviously, we've got to give a bit of context so we can go through a bit of history. In short, Ronnie James Dio, well, fronts a number of different bands, but the one he really sort of solidifies with is Elf, which he did three albums with. Elf would go on to open for Deep Purple and kind of become proteges of Richie Blackmore. And Richie Blackmore gets frustrated with Deep Purple, decides to form another band called Rainbow, which he then hires Ronnie James Dio to sing for. James Dio says, "I'll only do it on one condition, that you take my band with me." So the Elf was actually the rest of the band on the first Rainbow album. Over time, the lineup changes. Ronnie sings on three Rainbow albums, falls out with Richie Blackmore, and then just in time, this is around the time there's the Black Sabbath split with Ozzy Osbourne. So Ronnie jumps in now, revigorates Black Sabbath with two albums, Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. Then they do a live album called Live Evil. They have an argument over that. Ronnie's out again. Um, I do see three as being a recurring pattern here. We will revisit Sabbath as this goes on. But yeah, at this point, he puts together, well, he's out of Sabbath and he flies over to England because London was where it was at the time. He's not the first person, the only person to have done this at the time. Finn Lizzy went to London when they were looking for new guitarists because, yeah, London just seemed to be people from America would come to London to join a band. Um,
And
Funny
he was
enough,
particularly keen to get an English guitarist. That's quite interesting.
yeah,
But after working with Blackmore and Iommi,
yeah, and he puts together
a British
the
guitarist,
yeah, and well, Vivian Campbell, what's he?
Northern Irish, wasn't he?
Well, there you go, yeah. But then again, Lizzie came over.
Is he Northern Irish? I think he is.
Let's quickly look it up. Vivian Campbell. Yes, you're right. Yeah, he's from Belfast. And
There was
before
something about that particular. Again, I'm
he,
not a musician, but there's something
yeah,
about that sound he wanted.
yeah. Well, he was a Anglophile, wasn't he? He loved
Yeah,
England and married an English woman as well. Um, and his house, he built this. He bought this house that looked like a castle.
yeah. Have you
And
seen the interviews with him in it? He's
yeah,
talk shows
brilliant.
his bar and everything. Yeah.
He was such a good character as well. I mean, if you can
Oh,
you
he's a
can
lovely guy.
you can get a good couple of hours of entertainment of just Ronnie James Dio interviews. The guy, he didn't have an ounce of bullshit in him. He
Yeah.
just said it how he said, how he thought, and people
Have you
could
seen
deal with
there's
it.
a great one where he's on the coach on the tour
Yes,
bus and he's putting
yeah,
the albums down saying, great album, idiots. We
yeah,
could have been the greatest band there's ever been if
yeah. That was on the Strange Highways tour, wasn't it?
yeah,
And he's like, yeah, everyone talks about this album. Try this one. This one's
yeah.
better. And of course, on this one, everyone has to show off. And um, but yeah, he. Have you read his autobiography, by the way?
Yeah, I brought it along.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Which is
really
only up to a certain point, unfortunately, but yeah, it's great.
well. It really sort of it's easy to sort of overlook things really because obviously Holy Diver is a classic, and but it's sort of it kind of puts a bit more emphasis about how much was on the line at the time. And I did do a review of the book, or did I review the book, or did I? I've got a couple of. I think I might have done an unboxing of this and talked about it, or did I do a book review? I can't remember, but yeah, basically he did have everything on the line here, and he put all his money into it, and he put this lineup together. He was paying the band, and this album couldn't flop. And someone had said in the comments, like, well, no, but Ronnie was huge at the time. It was like there wasn't. It's like, well, yeah, but there's been
Yeah.
plenty of huge singers in huge bands whose solo careers just plummeted, And I think a vocalist going solo is actually a bit of a bigger risk than a band getting a new singer or guitarist or something like that. I think there is a lot more.
It's never guaranteed. It's like when Blackmore left Purple, and he wanted it to become another great big phenomena. And it never quite made it in America.
Mm.
Huge in Europe, but never quite made it in America. So you never can tell.
Yeah, there's an Ozzy Osbourne, but then it's a long way down. There's not really
Yeah,
that um, many people that go solo that are on par with their previous band. And yes, there's an exception, but it's well, yeah, someone like Ozzy Osbourne would be the exception. But anyway, yeah. So it really was. This is kind of like his last chance, and he had been in a number of bands before, and he was a bit jaded and a bit, and yeah, this really was like the last throw. Really, he wasn't sure what he was going to. Failure wasn't an option. Basically, had to work. So yeah, he puts together a new band and decides to go with just with the name, simple name Dio. Therefore, it isn't Ronnie James Dio, so he's not technically a solo artist, but that is the name of the band. Um, and yeah, so we've got Vinny Appice on drums, Jimmy Bain on bass, and Vivian Campbell on guitar. Vivian Campbell was in a band. Was it Sweet Savage or just Savage?
Oh, I don't
I
know.
think it was
Yeah.
Sweet Savage. I'm looking because there's two, and I've got one of their albums down here. I think it's Savage. In fact, I can quickly look it up. I think you should check out Sweet Savage. I think they only ever did demos. Is Sweet Savage, but if you listen to the vocalist, you can hear early icklings of a James Hetfield. It's quite
Oh,
interesting,
really?
and but yeah, so they put out Holy Diver,
What's that go platinum, didn't it?
yeah, and when did this come out? 1980? No, it couldn't have been 1980. 1983. 1980 was Heaven and
Yeah.
Hell.
83, yeah.
Um, I mean, even then, from 1980 to do Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, and then straight in with Holy Diver, and then
Yeah.
he definitely had a winning streak, even with the Rainbow albums before that. But yeah,
Yeah.
what can we say about Holy Diver? That hasn't been said a million times. But listening to it again for this, just the last week or so, I've just gone through all the albums, re-listened to it again, and some albums are just. It's not always a cliche, folks. It's a classic for a reason. You've got 9 songs here, and there just isn't an ounce of fat on it, is there? It's just every
If he
song.
hadn't made any more albums after Holy Diver and Last in Line, he'd still be regarded as a legend because they were such important albums in that era, and they just kind of continued that whole tradition that he established with Rainbow and Sabbath, but made it his own.
Yeah. I mean, and how many people can say they've got 3 classic albums with 3 different bands, So,
Yeah,
but this is a group effort. I mean, everyone is on fire here. I mean, Vivian Campbell, I think this is some of his best guitar playing. He never quite he's obviously continues on the next couple of albums, and then he went and joined Def Leppard, and I do think he's wasted in that band. Um, I'm sure he's doing all right, but but yeah, like, it comes out of the gate straight away with Stand Up and Shout, and he does always kick off an album with a
yeah.
with a sculpture, and then into the song Holy Diver. I've still never quite worked out what that song's about. Um, I thought he was like the holy diver because he's come out of the water, but the more I look at it, it's like, no, that's not quite right. Yeah, I've never quite worked out what holy diver was about. But that was the thing about his lyrics; they always kind of made sense, but didn't quite. There was always, I always say the best lyrics are perfectly vague.
You
Um,
started with quoting from the and I did the same thing today. I sort of printed out a load of different vocals from different things because the thing about his lyrics are they're incredibly poetic very often,
mm.
very mysterious too. One of the reasons I was drawn to them originally, or drawn to his work, because they're not flippant. There's no flippancy whatsoever in this artist. Dio just didn't do flippant.
He always plays with opposites as well. He always sort of goes one to the other side and then mixes them in the middle. And he always plays with words as well. He'll always take like a classic saying but change a word
Yeah.
or say it the opposite way and things like that.
And his voice, I mean, the things he does with, he articulates certain words incredibly well. You think in Holy Diver, I've written it down. Which one was it? Um, the hero never dies. He says dies like this. He goes dies. So he messes with vowels as well and emphasizes certain words and the vibrato. It's just a it's a clever he's a clever singer in terms of the way he uses words and how he specifically chooses certain words to accentuate in a song. And you can always practically always hear clearly what he's saying as well.
Yeah, and yeah, so many times I was just on this last week or week and a half or whatever it was. I was going through the albums. There was so many times, just great songs that you forgot, or you hear like a him hitting a certain note, or just you just think he was fucking good. He really was. It was he's yeah he's left a big hole. He really has. But Caught in the Middle is a favourite of mine on this as well. I mean, I love that song so much. It Caught in the Middle should have been in one of the Rocky films because it is one of those
Yeah.
film. It's one of those songs where you feel so good when it just builds up and builds up, and then that dun, 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 and it's like a beat down. You feel it, and then just it goes right back up again during the chorus. Caught in the Middle, and yeah, you could run a mile with that playing in your ears. And t- then classics. Don't Talk to Strangers. Straight for the Heart. How heavy is that? I forgot how heavy that was. And then I know we take songs like it for granted, but Rainbow in the Dark is
Yeah.
just
And
brilliant.
and, and the song that he famously didn't want to use.
Yeah,
Said he, oh, scrap
you
it.
hear that quite often though with people. They always go, "Oh, yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't want to use it." And
It's too poppy, he said.
yeah, but and yeah, when it's for its live as well, like just Rainbow in the Dark, boom, boom.
His music's been the soundtrack of I say my life. That sounds very dramatic, but in terms of writing, I always listen to Dio, and it's just something in the background because there's something that ignites with across the spectrum of the bands he's been with. He does it every time, and it doesn't matter. We'll get into, I guess, the thematics of
Yeah,
the later albums.
I mean, when you, I mean, what do you think of Elf? I mean, to me, they sounded a bit Rod Stewart, bit like the Faces. It's
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking from Rainbow onwards. I think
Yeah,
you
from
know it's.
Rainbow
I've
through
tried.
to
I was very excited when I first discovered Elf, and I thought, oh, great, more Dio, and I just it didn't gel with me at all.
mm,
And
yeah,
it was like he needed that kind of alchemy that he got with Blackmore.
mm,
Um, it was an enormous growth for him working with Blackmore and then later Iommi as well. I think there was a chemistry there.
yeah, from um, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow through to Master of the Moon. Even though we've got three bands, there is still that common thread running
Yeah,
through it. It's like it's even like they're the original lineups of Dio. Really, it's
yeah,
like he's adopted them rather than them hiring him. But yeah, we've got the mascot on the front cover there, iconic, and we continue on same lineup with the second album, The Last in Line, which pretty much Holy Diver is the statement of intent, and that's the standard bearer, and yeah, he basically just carries on where he left off, and great album cover here. I was going to actually use this as the thumbnail of but I couldn't get one. It was either too dark or too this light in the middle here wasn't quite working, but that is great, isn't it? And with obviously, where we first started talking about books and literature, Ronnie loved his literature, and he loved to get lost in a book. He was obviously a big Tolkien fan, and so on and so forth. And yeah, Dio albums and the Rainbow albums, the like a good book, you do just fall into it, don't you?
yeah.
And with the artwork and the way the lyrics are just just giving you just enough to run with, you do kind of fill the gaps in yourself, don't you? And it's not in a he's done it in a way that other bands don't quite, or think some bands try to spell it out for you, while Dio sort of showed you, not tell you.
Like you said, that he provides the rocking sort of straightforward track, which is kind of just heavy rock and roll. But there's threads and weavings in lots of the other songs because of the lyrics and the way the way he sort of pieces it together. So there's a huge fantasy element, of course, especially in the first four or five albums.
Mhm.
Um, but he comes back to that again, even though he kind of moves away from it. He does come back to it again. And he talked about how important things like Edgar Rice Burroughs were when he was a kid, and reading all that kind of pulpy fantasy stuff and the kind of high fantasy stuff, Tolkien.
Yeah, and yeah, and he creates his own world later on, which we'll get
Yeah,
to with Magica. But yeah, so the Last in Line was released in 1984. Like I said, it's the same lineup. We're basically carrying on where we left off. Again, he kicks off with "We Rock," another song that just comes out the gate, and then followed up with the classic "Last in Line." Lyrics I used at the beginning of the show. This is not quite up there with Holy Diver for me, but it's nothing. It's a standard maintained, but no new standard set for me on this one. What are your thoughts on
well,
Last
it's
in Line?
it's like Heaven and Hell Mob Rules, because
Mystery's a great song, but
that
yeah,
creates kind of disagreements very often. But I like them equally. I think what I wanted was beyond Last in Line was more of at the time when I was in my 20s, more of the same, build on it.
mm.
But what was the album after? Was it Dream Evil or was it Sacred
Yes,
Heart?
Sacred Heart's the
Sacred
next
Heart,
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
which is a good album.
yeah,
'Cause it doesn't make bad albums,
no, no.
but there's you can feel. I just think Sacred Heart, Dream Evil, he reckoned was an unhappy album. Um, there were tensions in the band, and obviously the lineup had changed by then. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of your
That's
chronology,
fine.
but those first two albums for me, um, Last in Line, I think it's as strong as Holy Diver, but I agree. I think it's the stamp that he created that continues.
Yeah, yeah, and there's some great riffs, great songs. It's I think this time as well. Is it Sacred Heart? Definitely, but I think he adds a keyboard player to the lineup on this one. Yes. So we've got Claude Schnell on keyboards on this one as well, and he's on for the next three albums. But yeah, we could don't have to just stay in one album at a time. But yeah, so they're pretty much back to back anyway. In 1985, we had Sacred Heart. So yeah, these are the first three, which are the same lineup really. And yeah, it's kind of the he starts with a winning streak really.
Well, I mean,
Um,
at the time, um, I I was just delighted that they were still producing albums, and I was been able to listen to them. And critically, I wasn't looking at them critically in any way. I think Dream Evil, I felt there was one or two tracks maybe that weren't as, but I thought Sacred Heart was you know, a worthy follow-up. But
I always want he doesn't use what's the mascot's name for
yeah, I
what is
know.
it? It's not Eddie, is it?
No, it's not Eddie. Yeah, he has got its own name. I can't remember.
But he doesn't use him on the doesn't use it on Sacred Heart. But yeah, so basically, like I said earlier, you've got it. Ronnie James Dio always seems to work in threes. He does three albums and then it always falls apart. And it's kind of what happens again with Dio. The after Sacred Heart, Vivian Campbell leaves. It's quite funny in that book. Apparently, it's over money. He wasn't being paid enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Wendy, Dio, says like he bought himself a Ferrari when he was in the band. Like he wasn't he was doing all right, you know. But yeah, for Dream Evil, we get a new guitarist. This is yes, it is Craig Goldie. So
It is.
Craig
Did he
Goldie,
come in that early? Yeah.
yeah, but he leaves and comes back. But
Because that
obviously the mascot still
because Vinny Appice was there was tension I think there and with him. Was it Craig Goldie that they didn't feel was the right guitarist? Or was that?
possibly, yeah. Was Vinny with him? No, yeah, Vinny's not on the next album. So
Who was the next guitarist after
the
Craig?
next
There
guitarist
was another
was
one,
Rowan Robertson.
Rowan Robertson. That was Lock Up the Wolves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I think Dream Evil really is. Yeah, it's a slightly new guitarist on this album, but it does continue the thread on the first three albums. I would say like this is actually a four album run. It's only the lineup that breaks it up in terms of the theme and the overall feel of the albums. You've got
yeah.
it's the first four, and then for so that's kind of like the classic run, shall we say? The first four albums, and then I think really, yeah, the first four albums are the classics for Dio. That's what you start with. But actually, it's now where the different lineups and the sound starts changing. This is actually where things get really interesting in the catalog because these four albums, it's like, well,
Yeah.
again, what can you say that hasn't been said a million times? And these songs sing themselves. But yeah, it's up album number five, Lock Up the Wolves, when we got pretty much a whole new lineup on this one. So
So that's when
uh,
Simon Wright first came in, wasn't it? I think.
yeah, got Rowan Robertson on guitar, Teddy Cook on bass, Simon Wright on drums, and Jens Johansson on guitar. Or Jens Johansson, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But yeah, so we've got a whole new lineup on this one, and this is where things really change up. Um, this one, it's like we go from like a 40-minute album to I think this sounds like nearly an hour long, something like that. This feels like working. Yeah, it's just under an hour, 55 minutes. And it's like the sound expands and it's where he's got a whole new lineup.
Yeah.
Uh, I suppose he's experimenting. Not experimenting, that's not quite right. But he's basically going, well, it's like the band's feeling each other out. They haven't quite, because it's only the one album this lineup it goes on for as well. They haven't quite found their groove yet.
Read
But
read out the
there is
track list to
interesting
me, just
stuff.
because I my all my research has been the later albums and I can't remember. I remember when I bought this album, I was again thinking everything was measured to me by Heaven and Hell. So it was everything was balanced against that Holy Diver, Last in Line. So I was looking for that again, that Dio Magic. And he touch it. I mean, Lock Up the Wolves itself is, has that kind of, that build up, the classic build up, and then that's very much in that kind of mold, the Dio mold there. But it was a
Yeah,
different sound.
yeah. I mean, it's even kind of bluesy in places
Yeah,
on this, and it's where he kind of he's sort of using like more slower, doomy like what's the word tempos on it as well, and it's a lot darker than the last four albums. The four albums have got darker elements in it here and there, but it's all very fantastic, and there's a lot of light in
yeah.
there as well, and it's all this one is still very it's a nighttime album, it's an interesting album. It's not one I listen to that often, but it is interesting to visit now and then when you in
Yeah.
the mood for Dio, but you fancy something a bit different. It's an album to put on now and then. and just explore for a bit, and you do find some hidden gems on there.
Yeah, what year did that come out? Was it 80, 90,
80, oh, 90.
90?
Yeah, we're,
Was
we're
it
in the
90?
90s now, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was thinking about because when did this is just me like sidetracking my mind when I bought Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Maiden. That was must have been 89, I think anyway, I can't remember. Yeah, they were the albums I was listening to in that period, I think.
I've
Yeah,
lost. No, I haven't. No, don't worry. I thought I'd lost an album.
I lost your audio there,
I thought
Joe.
I'd lost an album. Sorry. Um,
Oh, you
but I
but you
had, it was
found it.
here. It was here in front of me the whole time. So I was looking around. But yeah. So yeah, we've got a solid run basically so far. So yeah, obviously comes out the gate with a classic and has like a run of albums, four classic albums, setting up the Dio sounds. Then one unsure album, but an interesting, good album, but with a whole new lineup. But then at this point, he gets reacquainted with the Sabbath guys and rejoins them for Dehumanizer. And
And it's a bizarre story, isn't it? Because I think Tony Martin, who was the Sabbath vocalist at the time, um, I think they'd started on the project, and he was going to the studio one day, and his manager phoned him and said, "Don't go, they don't want you." He said, "What do you mean they don't want me?" So, um, they're getting Ronnie James Dio in. So it was something like that, something mad.
it's one of those ones as well where we've got this legendary, you know, there's a version of Back in Black with Bon Scott on vocals, and apparently there are Dehumanizer songs with Tony on vocals. But hopefully, with those box sets that they're putting out, if there is anything like that, it'll get unearthed then. But on the other hand, maybe it's best they just leave Sleep When Dogs Lie. I mean, especially now Ronnie's no longer with us, it might be seen as disrespectful. But then again, they did put out Eternal Idol, didn't they? With Ray Gillen's demos on
Yeah.
a second disc. Then again, those demos were bootlegged so much, they probably thought it was pointless not putting them on there. But I don't know. Time will tell. I mean, I think I saw Tony Martin being asked about that, but his answer was just as vague as
Well, I think he's got a lot of recordings, but he can't do anything with them because of management and, you know, sensitivities and so on.
yeah, or I guess, or they're very, you know, they're in an unfinished condition, like
Yeah.
they're very unfinished and nothing really to them, and yeah, I think the mystique of the demos will probably be more interesting than the actual things once you hear them, sort of thing. But yeah, I said we weren't going to go, we weren't going to concentrate too much on the other albums, Rainbow and Sabbath, because we'd be here all night. But I think this is an important album because this does provide context for the Dio albums to follow. But yeah,
Yeah.
so what do you think of Dehumanizer?
I think it's one of the most underrated of
Yeah,
Sabbath's albums. I think it's a great album.
yeah,
I, I
I
said
love
it
it.
earlier, Dio doesn't make bad albums,
Yeah,
and Tony Iommi very rarely makes. I I said
I've got that
I
as a
think
T-shirt as well. It looks awesome,
yeah.
and where it's like getting old and it's all frazzled, where it's been washed hundreds of times, it looks even better.
I've got a
Yeah.
Dream Evil t-shirt upstairs, which is original from the 80s, and it's fallen apart now. It's sort of, I can just see the image on the cover.
Just hold it up in the light at certain angles. You can just tell it's.
It's got loads of blim holes in it and burn
Yeah.
holes in it from smoking. You know, I think I said to you before, like, Dio didn't make a Technical Ecstasy, didn't make a Never Say Die. Um, but when those two albums by Sabbath, Tony Iommi still plays great guitar riffs in there, and it just didn't gel, didn't work. But Dio doesn't do that. He never
Are
gets to that
you
point.
talking about technical ecstasy and?
Never
Never
Say
say.
Die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
funny
So
enough, I
Dio
was talking
doesn't
about
get to
them
that stage.
on those two albums. It's like the band lost confidence in themselves that
Yeah,
they didn't know what they wanted to do on it, and Dio always remained confident. He
yeah,
always, in the next couple of albums, he slightly adjusts things, which we'll talk about when we get there. But even then, he knew what he was aiming for. He's always been
precisely. Yeah,
yeah, he's always been focused. While on those two albums, it's just a mess. It's just not nothing's going anywhere, is it? It's just there was a lot of drugs going along that time. That was
yeah.
one thing with Ronnie. He never fell into that trap, did he?
No, no.
Yeah.
I think the cocaine was so prevalent then by
Mm.
the end of Sabbath, and everything was just falling apart.
I think as well they were, you know, I think Tony wasn't coming up with riffs, and I think they weren't coming up with, and then they went right. Let's just go to this state of the art
Yeah,
$1,000 a day studio,
there was all
thinking,
kinds of mad stuff
yeah,
about it. Like,
if they went to this really expensive studio, this studio would kind
yeah,
of just magic an album for them, and
and I only
yeah,
wanted to do something that was much more commercially accessible and experimental.
I think,
Technical Ecstasy, I mean, Technical Ecstasy is not a terrible album. It's not a great album, but Never Say Die is dissolution.
yeah, well, they're interesting albums to listen to now. I mean, you always get pumped. Some people go, oh, actually, like I think it's
Yeah,
actually a really underrated album. And da, da, da. You get the odd person that you know, I think it's their best album. But it's like, well, you wouldn't have wanted them to carry on,
yeah,
would you? And both parties dropped it pretty damn quick with Ozzy going solo, and when Sabbath hire Ronnie, they both went, yeah, get rid of this, and they both went back to what they were good at. I thought, well, for Blizzard of Oz and Heaven and Hell, those two albums alone, the split was obviously mutual. Like it was, sorry, mutually beneficial for
yeah.
us, and for them.
Well,
They both found their feet again. Ozzy found his feet again with Randy, and
yeah,
Sabbath found their feet again with Ronnie. So yeah, if you people that sort of go, oh no, I actually think it's really good. It's like, well, what as in you wish Heaven and Hell didn't happen?
yeah.
Like, come on, don't kid yourself. But
Because it happened at the time when I just got into metal. So it's about the late 70s. And I'd been introduced to Ronnie James Dio through Rainbow Rising. A mate of mine had said, listen to this, you like fantasy, you
yeah,
got to love this. And I did. But the Sabbath was my band. And then Ozzy left. So it was like a marriage made in heaven and hell for me. This wonderful thing that this thing has died, but this thing is being born. Um,
so you saw it then. You would have been like you saw you was a fan of Rainbows, fan of Sabbath, and then seeing them come together. It must have been. What was
it
your
was it
reaction
was
at the
great.
time? Did you?
No, I was delighted because and I went to see Sabbath on the Heaven and Hell tour. Um, we used to go to a place called Deeside Leisure Centre, was an ice rink. I don't know if it still is. It's near Queensferry in North Wales and just over the border from Cheshire where I lived.
Yeah.
And that just going in there and Sabbath came on and they opened with War Pigs. And have I told you this story before? I probably have, but I'm an old man, so I'll repeat it. Um, but they blew all the
I don't
amps or
remember you
whatever.
telling me this. No.
Yeah. So everything went dead. And you could just see roadies scurrying around desperately for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then they came back. It was great. And there was a feeling in the audience of, I think there were a lot of bikers there and guys who were saying, I could hear people going, RZ, RZ. But Dio just did what Dio does. And I tell you, he won them over. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard similar stories. I remember. Yeah, I've heard a couple of different people say like, they went there not sure what where they stood, but were won over by the end of the gig. And I think even Ronnie said, he was met with a hostile reception to begin with, but he went over. It was about 2 weeks where he was getting shit from the audience, and then after
Yeah.
about 2 weeks, it started dying down. He said, "So I think he was saying word of mouth had got out." No, he is doing a solid job, you know.
Well, he was tremendous. I mean, you've heard the Live Evil album. I mean, he could do the Aussie songs really well, and I'd already heard Heaven and Hell before I saw the show, so I was already hooked on it anyway. Um, yeah, unfortunately, I moved to South Africa in 1982, so that kind of ended my
Yeah,
contact with live music until late 80s when I saw Sabbath in Africa. They came over, Tony Iommi did
and
a,
that was with Tony
that was
Martin.
Tony Martin, that was
Yeah.
Eternal Idol, yeah.
So how many times have you seen Dio live in total? Oh, you
Just
just
that
saw him the
once,
once, right?
just
Oh,
that
okay. I thought
once.
you might have seen him a couple of times.
No, I would love to have seen him. I just never, I didn't come back to Britain until the mid 90s and, I had kids by then and,
Yeah.
so I never got round to
Well,
seeing.
you saw him once with arguably, that was the best time to. Well, it wasn't a bad time to see
It
him,
was a
but
good time. Yeah, it was
yeah,
good.
yeah. Not a lot of people can say they were at that first tour. Well, I suppose a lot of people can say that,
Oh,
but not a lot
yeah.
of people now.
I've still got the program.
Oh, fantastic!
It's
Oh, brilliant!
yeah.
Excellent. So, yeah, so they do dehumanize that, and yeah, definitely one of Sabbath's heaviest. I mean, Ronnie screams his lungs out on this as well. Like songs like "Computer God," that chorus, brilliant songs like "Time Machine," "TV Crimes." It's yeah, brilliant album. One of my favourites. And then they fall out again, and yeah, you can listen to a great interview. It's in 2 or 3 parts, and it's from 1992. Was it 1993? Yeah, it must be 1993. Ronnie James Dio interview 93, 94, and he's sitting there on a tour bus with a pint like that, and he is just ranting. He is taking no prisoners. He is slagging Sabbath off. He's slagging ex-members off of Dio, slagging off Richie Blackmore, and then just like we're doing here, the guy gets him CD by CD, goes through his whole back catalogue up until this album, and just I think it's like three parts maybe.
It's
Um,
great because you can see he's pissed off. You
mm,
can you could tell there's a kind of a even the way when there was noise or something and he turns and says, "Oh guys, come on," you know, to his crew. You can see there's a bit of angst there. And that bit where he goes through the albums and he gets to, the Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, says, great albums, you know, what did we what did we kill, by stupidity?
yeah, yeah, he's like, all we had to do was talk, but you didn't
Yeah,
talk. You didn't want to talk, did you? And you killed one of the best bands. You stupid
yeah,
arseholes. And he even goes to the guy, doesn't he? Ask him when you speak to
yes,
Tony. Ask him. Da, 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 da. Don't let them bullshit you. Don't let. Yeah, great. But yeah, so he leaves Black Sabbath and he forms a whole new lineup again. Oh well, Vinny Appice leaves with him, and then we get Tracy
again,
G on guitar and Jeff Pilson on bass. And yeah, this is like a modern Dio, shall we say? So this is
yeah,
released in 1993, and yeah, he'd kind of. I mean, everyone that goes for a certain period goes through this sort of era in their back catalogue. Alice Cooper goes through it, Ozzy goes through it, where the times have changed and they try and adapt to whatever modern music is happening at the time. Dio adapts rather than adapts to the modern times, he adapts modern times to him. So he
yeah,
takes certain elements of what's going on at the time obviously you were getting like obviously thrash metal had happened. You were just starting. It was just before sort of Korn had come out. But in that interview we're talking about, he references Napalm Death,
Yeah,
and he says he sees metal changing, and different bands are bringing their own sounds, their own ideas, and he praises it. And he just sort of goes, "We're borrowing a little bit of that and just seeing what I can do with it." And yeah, he's basically taking elements of what's going on in the metal world at the time and just sort of let's see what I can do with that. And it's a it's a strange, unique, interesting album. It's very much it is the natural follow up to Dehumanizer, in my opinion. If you a Sabbath fan and you love this album and you wish you wish you could get more of it, I would say both albums actually. I'd say Strange Highways and Angry Machines
yeah,
kind of make up a trilogy.
yeah. I'm just looking at the track list to see what. Yeah, Strange Highways. I mean, this when I was preparing for
Blood
this,
from a Stone's a great song.
yeah,
Yeah.
I spent a week listening to these albums, specifically these later albums. They're all good.
Yeah.
You know, we could end the stream now. He just makes good music. They're all good.
Yeah, but it's these particular albums I knew you wanted to talk about. I knew
Yeah,
this is really again the first half. Classic rock will tell you all about them all day,
yeah.
but this is where actually
Well,
because this is the
I,
underrated stuff, and this is where a lot of people sort of fall off. But no, this is actually there's a lot of gold in these last couple of albums.
I didn't know about these albums until I don't know about 10 or 15 years ago. I started to follow the back catalogue because of the internet. I could have access to them, and so I started listening to them. And to me, there was um, you're absolutely right. Dehumanizer is a kind of a pivot upon which it swings, and it moves into this kind of critique of materialism, critique of capitalism, critique of or at least corporatism, and the dehumanizing aspects of the world, and that runs through all of them, even when the fantasy elements come back as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I meant to mention is that there is a shift in lyrics, not completely, but he focuses more on reality. I
Yeah,
mean, I guess you could say, rather than say the first five albums are Tolkien and Edgar Rice Burroughs, this is more Philip K. Dick or William Burroughs. This
yeah,
necromancer, and he's applying. Yeah, so the first five albums are fantasy. Now we've shifted to dystopia.
yeah. He's gone from being a fantasy writer to a science fiction writer
Yeah,
in some ways, you know.
yeah. Hollywood Black,
Yeah.
evil Lucian. It's but still always about the human condition. That's one thing that never really changes, is it? He's always talking about the struggle that is life and the human heart and where someone finds themselves in it.
Bring Down the Rain. Just look at that one. That's another cracker. So that's on the Strange Highways album. Um, there's something about the way he shifts the direction to a degree, but it becomes more kind of pertinent, I think, for the times in which, in some ways, living in. And I think the fantasy elements, as I say, do come back into it later, um, because they can be as equally pertinent as well.
Well, I think he gets a second wave really as well, where he let's quickly talk about Angry Machines and then we'll get into it. But yeah, the follow up is Angry Machines. I love that album cover. That gets a bit of stick for some reason, but I think it's great. And yeah, this is actually the least popular of the Dio albums. And
what were the
Doesn't mean it's.
sales on that? Were there less sales? I think there were. I think Angry Machines was one of the.
I think it was more to do with the
Yeah,
times rather than.
yeah.
Um, I mean, this is quite. This one is very Sabbathy. It's very. There's a lot of slow, doomy. Yeah, this isn't in a rush to get anywhere. This album. This one again is the same lineup as the last album, but with an added keyboard player, Scott Warren. So this is the second of the Tracy G albums. But yeah, I mean, if you go on YouTube and do a like album ranking albums, this one's always at the end. But
Well, you,
I think it
and it,
means there's more to do with the fact that one of them's got to be at the bottom, and yeah, this is
yeah,
the one that just always cops it really. But if this is as bad as it gets, folks, you know you're in good company because
tracks like "Stay Out of My Mind." I mean, are haunting and powerful. That's and dying in America. It's like this kind of idea of this collapse of the American dream, and I mean, it predates the opioid epidemic, but it's like it's almost a kind of a lament for that future.
this was in 1996 as well, and Alice Cooper had put out an album called, but he put out a song called "Lost in America." Same, yeah. It's funny how there was that feeling at the time. Have I got my Alice Cooper albums down here? The Last Temptation, I think it was called. Yeah, that one. Yeah, same sort of theme.
And the album ends on that with "This Is Your Life," and apparently when he wrote that, he was just went into the studio and started messing around on the piano. And
Yes, I forgot about that song. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
it's I've already said to my missus, I said you could play that at my funeral, that'll bring the house down. It's just, but it's so touching, and it's just that kind of melodic, beautiful, his voice rising with it. This is your life, this is your time. Look on your world. You know,
Yeah, and this is the album that everyone writes off, and then
yeah,
you've got something completely different. He's not done anything like that since Angel Eyes at the end of Long Live Rock and Roll, the last album he did with Rainbow. You know, where that was just a guitar and vocals, really nice mellow song, and yeah, like even even his worst album has gems on it. There's
yeah.
It's still a treasure trove. But
Well, I mean, that I said it flippantly earlier, but that is the thing. They're all good.
yeah,
The quality is there. There's the gold standard.
I think with this time in his career as well, and right, so we'll move on. Well, yeah, just to touch in on the context of the time, we've gone from obviously Dio is coming along in that golden age of heavy metal. He's there with the rise in Rainbow. He's there at the pinnacle in Sabbath and Dio, and he goes from an arena selling artist. At this point in his career, he's playing
Yeah,
mid-tier venues, sometimes even clubs. Another great YouTube channel that I'm sure everyone's seen is Ralph Vieira, and he says, a lot of people rip on the '90s. I mean, I love the '90s because I got to see big bands in small venues, and if you was people pay a fortune now for a VIP
yeah,
meet and greet. These days, you could have just walked up to them and they would have signed. And another great story as well with Ronnie James Dio's. You hear time and time again, he was more than happy to speak to people,
yeah,
and people that met him more than once all say that he remembered them. He would ask
Yeah.
them the name, and then the next time he came, he'd spot, he'd remember their name and go,
He
"We
was
spoke
he
last time."
was
Yeah,
incredible. I mean, it was incredibly important to him, the fan
mm,
base. And he said, without them, it's nothing. And a lot of that came from, or was accentuated for him by his experience of Blackmore, because Richie Blackmore was like, eh, you know,
yeah.
and he really kind of. I told you the story about when I wrote to him, to Dio.
I think you did, but this is a good story. Yeah, sell it
Well,
again.
it's
I mean, if you
you
told me,
know,
you might not have said it on the actual video because we.
can you, he sent me a picture, which is which was nice. So basically, I was just really down and enormously homesick because I'd been living abroad and just wanted to come back to Britain. God knows why, but I did. I was homesick, and I wrote to I don't know I don't know where they got the. It must have been from the record label or something. I must have written to.
They
So I
all have
wrote this.
fan club
Yeah.
things, didn't they? Yeah,
So I wrote this letter and just said how his lyrics were important to me and listened to his music all the time and etc. etc. Sad sack letter, sent it off, and I don't think I heard anything for a couple of months. And then I got this envelope with this signed picture in and a note. I don't have the note anymore. I lost it years ago, but it was just a very short note, just to and it just said something like, Chris, follow your dream, you'll get there, whatever, whatever. Ronnie James Dio. So it just meant an awful lot to me because at the time I was like, um, yeah, he was just a nice bloke.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think he was, and I heard that time and again. I'll tell you, can I deviate slightly? I know you.
We
It's
love deviations on this show. Yeah, it's
well,
fine.
this is it's just another anecdote, but it's one by just I heard by Phil Aston. Now Spinning Magazine. Do you know him? He does music reviews and things on YouTube.
Oh right, yeah.
He's an ex-musician, but when he was a kid, he went to see Rainbow, and he noticed that Robert Plant was in the wings. Not didn't come on stage, but was just in the wings listening to the show. And so they went to the stage door after the show, and the band came out. Blackmore went to his limo, off he went. And unusually, Dio didn't stop and talk to them. He was off as well. And so they were like, we'll have to get the bus back and that. And then Robert Plant came out and said, all right, lads. And they were like, oh, bloody hell, it's Robert Plant. He said, and he said, what are you up to? He said, well, we've got to go. We've got to get the bus now. And he said, I'll walk you to the bus stop. And he walked back with them to the bus stop and he talked about them, asked them about them. It wasn't about him, you know. So that's a quite nice story. That's a Dio adjacent story
Yeah,
with a
no, that's a
rainbow
yeah.
concert.
He seems like quite a down to earth fella as
I
well.
think he is,
Robert
yeah.
Plant. He was he a Queens Park Rangers fan as a
Well, we
season
can't all be
ticket,
perfect.
and yeah, but he not in the VIP section. Apparently, he's down the front with him, and I think most people nowadays probably don't even know who he is. Yeah, but well, in that audience anyway. But
He lives down the road, actually. Well, I say he lives down the road. He's got a house here in um, a place called Artist Valley, which is just off on the way to another town up the road. It means nothing. I'll give you the Welsh names. It doesn't mean anything. He lives up the road. He's got a
all
house
right,
there,
you've not bumped
and
into him yet.
he's often seen around. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
Have you got a? You have to have one of your books sort of signed, just in case.
Yeah, well,
He'd
thrust it
like
up
your
his.
stuff because he's another. Yeah, he's a Tolkien fan. I know that obviously. Well,
Yeah,
that's obvious, but yeah, I think I think he'd be a fan. Um, but yeah, we
S-
digress.
sorry, that's me
No, don't worry.
digressing.
That happens all the time on this show. Bloody hell, you should listen to Maiden Cast. Um, yeah. So what I was saying was, at this time, he's he's playing smaller venues and he's got into this. He's not got the popularity that he had in the 80s, and metal hasn't got the popularity it had in the 80s either. Grunge has come along and other things, and the music business has changed and so on and so forth. But he kind of falls into this little niche, which I think at this point he actually starts to feel comfortable in. I think he's all right playing these smaller intimate venues,
Yes.
but where he's not as big, he's not got as much pressure to be commercial. Therefore,
Yeah.
he's got a lot of freedom. And classic artists like Dio kind of become underground at the same level as extreme music, i.e., death metal. You've got mainstream metal, obviously, and then you've got you split off into the underground, and yeah, you've got the bands that are coming up. So you know your death metal, your black metal, all these other bands, but your classic tier metal have kind of gone onto that level as well.
Yeah.
Only the real fully fledged diehards are listening to one or the other, or both, or whatever. And yeah, I think where those underground bands were making like a steady living, someone like a Cannibal Corpse at this point would have been playing clubs, but they would have been playing 200 shows or whatever it is a year, but they were making a living. And he's
Yeah.
making at this point, yeah, but instead of millions of dollars, where his guitarist is buying Ferraris, but he's making enough where everyone's getting paid. No one's losing money, so he can just chug along nicely. He's not got massive productions, but yeah, he's slow and steady. It's smooth sailing financially, and where he's in this niche market, yeah, he can play around, and this is where we get our
Yeah.
first concept album. I've got two editions of this as well because I'm a sucker for a reissue with like extras. So this one has a concert with it, and this one has got some extras. This one has got a second song, a song that would have been on Magica 2. He only completed one song for it, and you got a couple of live tracks as well. But you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So he's as you say, he's now got the freedom to really push the boat out with the experimentation. Nice.
yeah, and this is the gem in the catalog. Really, this is the underrated one. People should really check this out a lot more.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a whole lore, a whole world on this album. Um, he's diverted back to the fantasy of the first four albums, and he really just takes the gloves off on this one, doesn't he? Um, Great songs. I
It's one
love
of my
the
favorites.
opening Magic of Fame.
Yeah.
Lord of the Last Day is a great song, but everything on this, Ariel, as long as it's not
Yeah.
about love, it's a great song.
Electra,
Um, yep.
like an anthem.
Oh, yeah, Electra. Uh, Feed My Head was another good one. Fever Dream, yeah, everything.
Fever Dreams, yeah.
And then,
Losing My Insanity, it's the cracker.
and then at the end, you get an 18-minute audio book
Yeah.
of the story of the album. So, yeah, there's all sorts going on here, and I know you wanted to. This is a favourite of yours, so yeah, let's get
Well,
into Magica.
it's one that I think this album was to me, listening to it as a much older person, um, a return to the roots of the magic I'd felt when I first listened to Heaven and Hell, the Heaven and Hell album.
Sorry,
Um,
did you hear this when it came out, or did you discover it later?
no, I discovered it later
Yeah.
because when was it? 2001, 2000? No, Magica 2000 and
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it came
yeah,
out 2000, March
yeah.
21st, 2000.
Sorry, I can't see. Um, so yeah, so I discovered it much later, probably about close to 10 years after it came out. Because I'd had a lacuna in, I'm an odd person when I've got a set of albums that I listen to again and again and again. And very rarely I'll listen to a new band or a new album. But I discovered these when because I say through the internet, I started going through the back catalogs. And to me, this is, of all those albums that were produced in that, we talk about the kind of post-dehumanizer set. And I said to you the other night, didn't I? I said it's just it's a cracker. I mean, they're all good, but
Yeah.
there's something about this one. It's beautifully cohesive, and you can see that he's developed a theme that he's going to take further, and it's going to grow into, he talked about the fact that after Magica, he said we're going to go back to we're going to do another kind of album like Holy Diver or like Last in Line because that's what the fans want. But I'm going to return to this, and as you say, he had the freedom to do that in a sense that the expectation wasn't too onerous. Um, so you have this story that's laid out about this world in conflict. You've got this the shadow side and the wizard who who's going to use Magica, which is this magical book, and everything is beautifully constructed and follows a kind of thematic story through to the conclusion. But it's also like a first book in a trilogy, or a
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, we were robbed. In the we'll skip ahead, and he reunites again with the Sabbath guys, and under the name Heaven and Hell, which we'll go into detail. But on the he released two DVDs, two live DVDs with Heaven and Hell. I can't
yeah.
remember which one it is.
The Wacken one
It's
was a
is it
good
the
one.
Wacken one where he does say, "I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
I've achieved everything I want to achieve." Getting back with these guys and doing an album as massively, that's a big box ticks. It's unfinished business. It's done. It says the only thing I could really think artistically I can do. He says I did an album a few years ago called Magica, which is a concept album. He says I'd like to do a part two and part three and make it a trilogy and finish it. And then once that's done, I'm pretty much finished. And unfortunately, we never got it.
Yeah, because it's you can see the kind of all the elements that have played such a large role in his oeuvre
Yeah.
and what he did.
Sorry. Apart from this edition, you do get one song,
You get
but
one
yeah.
song. Yeah. Um, what's the one song called?
A
Additional.
Annika.
Yeah,
No, sorry. Hold on.
on my list.
Annika's a bonus track. No, Electra.
Yeah, so it's
Recorded for Magica 2 and 3.
yeah.
Yeah, you got Annika, which was a Japanese bonus track, and Electra. And yeah, that was the only one that made it. So he had started. I mean,
He
who
was
knows?
talking about when he did the Devil You Know, and he was asked about whether he would do he would carry on working with them, and he said, "Yeah, absolutely. But the great thing is now we're not in a hurry." He said,
Yeah,
we were always planning ahead. We've got to do this in a year, we've got to do this, and that doesn't come into play anymore because we've all made a success. We're older, we're wiser, and we're just having fun now. So that's the great tragedy in a sense, because,
it finally got to that point. Yeah,
yeah,
and
they were working as a team, and it's a great team. You know,
mm,
Giza, Vinny Appice, and Tony Iommi and Dio it's just a great mix. Fantastic album, The Devil You Know. But I think Magica is the starting point of that transition into a kind of much more relaxed and focused period. It's a mature period. He's become mature in terms of his production.
yeah, and that basically, I guess, we'll get into the last two albums. Killing the Dragon in
Another great album.
what was the lineup? Let's go for the lineup. 2002, it was released. Doug
You got
Aldrich on guitar, Simon Wright on drums, Jimmy
Jimmy
Bain back
Bain.
on bass, and Scott Warren on
Yeah,
keyboards. So a mixture of old and new members. And then in 2004, Master of the Moon, and oh, Craig Goldie's back on that one. Jeff Pilson again on
yeah. So
bass, Scott Warren on guitar, on keyboards, and Simon Wright on guitar. Um, and yeah, these last two albums really they are kind of like a one-two punch.
yeah,
This is a special edition. This is
you got songs on it.
that's the
Like
original artwork. But yeah, this to me basically this is Dio comfortable in his own skin. The lineup are confident and comfortable. It's Dio just being Dio on
yeah.
these two albums, and that's all I've really got to say about them because there's not a lot more. I'm not writing them off in any way, but there's not really much I can say to it. They're good songs. They've all got none of them are classics in the type of, but they're not don't really need to be at this point. They're just
No, they rock. I mean,
yeah.
they really rock. You don't put them on and think, oh, I'll pity about that one. Master of the Moon, great. Scream is great. The Eyes is great.
Mm.
Those eyes, it's
Aptly titled "One More for the Road," the
yeah,
opening track.
yeah.
That yeah, which is a shame, you know. But
So have you heard because there's a bit of debate about what his last recordings were. I'm sure there's um Metal Will Never Die, which he recorded with David Feinstein, who was his cousin, and he'd been in Elf,
all
and
right,
he asked him to work on his solo album. So there's that one, Metal Will Never Die, and The Code, which he recorded with the Rods, which was a band with David Feinstein in. Those two, there's a bit of debate about which one was the last recording. I think it's Metal Will Never Die. They're both great,
I've not heard them. No.
and yeah, they're on YouTube. I mean, it's um, one's called The Code, one's called Metal Will Never Die. Both late, probably his last recordings. And then there's the cracking God Rest You Merry Gentlemen on the um, Have a Very Metal Christmas album. Have you heard that one?
No,
So that's
no.
2008 or 9.
Yeah.
Um, Tony Iommi playing guitar on it. So I suspect it's about the time of when Heaven and Hell was starting. Um, and it's just I play it every Christmas because the way Dio articulates the
Oh, I'm
lyrics.
gonna start. Yeah.
But Iommi's guitar playing on that, because when I first heard it, I thought, who's the guitarist? That sounds very familiar to me. There's that devil's chords going on in there. Yeah, so it's great. That's a great one too. Those three lovely little additional extras.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look them up. And then, yeah, we might as well talk about it. But after Master of the Moon, again, this is around the time as well. Uh, Ronnie had found like a second wave or another wave of popularity where you had the heavy metal headbangers journey documentary where Dio is interviewed a couple of times on that, and that kind of introduced him to a new audience. Then you had the Tenacious, or my
Yeah.
orders might be slightly out, but you had the Tenacious D movie where Ronnie James Dio has a cameo in that, and
Your
and then
Destiny.
Killswitch Engage covered Holy Diver. Although I think history's been rewritten a little bit there because when Killswitch Engage did Holy Diver, to me that was a piss take. They were doing it ironically. It was kind of like, look at this old fuddy duddy heavy metal guy. He's got a song called Holy Diver, and
So they reverse engineered it to be.
yeah, then he died, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, he's a god. He's a tribute. It was a tribute to him, and it's funny because yeah, the last like Dio tour in the UK, he played a real small venue. in London at least. Heaven and Hell played arenas, and yeah, when Ronnie did die, it was like this massive. It
Yeah.
was like, well, you could have appreciated. I mean, I suppose I was guilty of it as well, but you could have appreciated him a bit more when he was here, because yeah, I remember that like the last tour. I don't know if it was at Master of the Moon tour, but he did a tour where it was the anniversary of Holy Diver, and he played the album in full. You can get that concert, the London show, that was released on DVD. Really good set. Have you seen it?
No. Which one? The final tour.
No, it's oh, I don't know if it was the final, but it was towards the end. Um, it must be called Hope. It'll be on here. But yeah, he plays Holy Diver in full, but it's in the middle of the set. It doesn't just come out and go for it, you know. Live album. Nope, nope, nope.
I've seen it.
Video. I'll tell you what. If you look at Live in London, Hammersmith Apollo, 1993, that's on the obviously the Strange Highways tour. That's a good concert. That's good to watch. And yeah, no, fuck's sake. He's done so much. Here we go. Where is it? Oh, right. It's there the whole bloody time. Yeah, 2006, Holy Diver Live. There you go. I won't tell you the set list, but I
It's a
won't
good
give you
one.
any spoilers with what he opens up with. But Rainbow, Sabbath, and Dio's like it's 17 songs,
So you've got to do Man on the Silver
and
Mountain.
the nine in the middle is Holy Diver in full.
Yeah.
You know,
Nice.
but yeah, check out Live at Hammersmith 1993 and Holy Diver Live. Both of them are on DVD, but you'll be able. I'm sure you'll find them on YouTube, or there's even like a Netflix of just concerts now, isn't there? After I can't remember what it's called, but it's the same sort of thing where it's just rock DVDs. But anyway, yeah. So eventually, Black Sabbath were always touring with the original lineup and getting fed up with basically just touring and not doing a new album. Around 2006, 2007, they do one final tour with Ozzy. Ozzy goes and does another solo album, and then around this time, they decide to get the Mob Rules lineup back together. Now, at this time, Ozzy had sued Sabbath, even though he was still in them, and basically said you're not allowed to use a Black Sabbath
Right.
name unless it's all four members, i.e., him.
Yeah.
Um, so what this gave birth to, and a lot of people have done similar things since, and I think it's only been a good thing. But yeah, Ronnie got back with Black Sabbath, but of course can't use the Sabbath name. But that Ronnie uses this to his advantage, and he goes, "Well, what we'll do then? We'll call it Heaven and Hell, and we'll
Yeah.
just play those three albums." Ozzy doesn't want us using Black Sabbath. We're not going to play Black Sabbath either. So they put out a best of that came out as Black Sabbath, the Dio years,
Yeah. And they got new
and
tracks
that
on
had
that.
three songs on it.
Yeah.
Did a really good tour. Great DVD of that as well, live at Radio City Hall. Or, yeah,
Yeah, I've
is it
seen
Radio
that one.
City Hall? Have
Yeah.
you watched that?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And then they put out The Devil You Know. And I remember not struggling with this album, but I listened to it today, and yeah, I really liked it. I was like, "What's the matter with you? That why
Because
did you think?"
the last time we spoke, I was waxing lyrical about it.
Yeah, and Dave really likes this album as well, doesn't he? Dave
Yeah.
Attell, and I think my problem with the album was it was always a bit slow tempo, where the other albums with with Ronnie at least, it's always been quite up and heavy and fast and varied. While I always found this one, they kind of just back into like a slump. I feel the album's a bit chugs along, but no, this today is. I was constantly going, God, what song's this? This one's good. What one's this? And yeah, Bible Black, great song.
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Angel, fantastic. Eating the Cannibals. Yeah, so I don't know why. It seems to have finally clicked. But
You got lyrics like "Come lie in a bed of nails and slumber." I mean, it's just fantastic, you know.
yeah,
It, it's to me an affirmation of his ability. First of all, Dio's voice is still fantastic.
yeah,
Its register has changed because he's older, which is normal in I think he always I don't he, the legends say, you know, he didn't really prepare to sing when he was singing. He wouldn't go do any uh, voice exercises or anything. He'd smoke a joint, have a beer, and then he'd just go on stage and belt them out.
yeah,
But his register is still there, and you know, and the evidence is in the live performances because he's still bloody amazing.
yeah. I think what it was wasn't it each because you're where you're always you got to breathe properly and
Yeah,
manipulate your lungs and that. And because he at school was a trumpet player,
he's a trumpet player. Yeah,
he switched to vocals
yeah.
and could do it quite easy because he always knew how to breathe properly. And yeah, that's again that's the legend, but
But
it
you know,
works. Yeah,
it's
I don't know how accurate it is. I don't know.
his I mean his pitch is as I say, his register, the vibrato, everything. He still holds it and he still has it, and he's not one of those vocalists who, you know, you go and listen to live and they're a bit disappointing because you
Hmm.
think, you know, he was in some ways he's better live. You know, there's
Yeah, yeah. And there isn't any shortage of live material from him as well. I
yeah,
mean, going for this catalog, I was just looking for a live album. I couldn't find it. He's got. I mean, I've not. I've got a couple of DVDs, but
yeah. How's
um.
that? VHS.
Oh wow! Look that five. I remember that logo in the corner, Channel Five, whatever it is. I've got. Oh yeah, there's the. You'll like that because that's the Strange Highways tour. Well, this is the thing as well. They're saying like, oh, he played these small venues. That's at Hammersmith Apollo.
Yeah.
And that would have been at his like that was in 1993. I mean, mind you, was he? I think a lot of
Well,
bands were bigger in England than when they were in
I was just going to
America.
say, yeah,
Yeah,
huge. It always remained huge in Europe, um, and the UK.
yeah.
So that, you know, the American popularity would rise and fall, but the particularly Europe, places like Germany.
Oh yeah, I bet he would have been massive in Germany. There's a Dreamers Never Die film as well. That's pretty good. Uh, um, but yeah, we yeah, what do you think of Devil You Know though? Summing up, really, it's a we wish we could have got Magica 2 and 3, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's the final album. I mean, it went out with a bang, really, didn't it? And it was a fitting
yeah.
end
It's a
to
five
Sabbath
star.
as
It's
well, because
five
Sabbath,
stars.
yeah,
It's 5 stars. It's brilliant. I mean, it's there's some bangers on there. I mean, you know, Tony Iommi's playing something about when Dio and Iommi are together. Um, because I think there was always an issue with Ozzy get fed up if Tony was doing a long solo. Whereas Dio sort of went with it and said, "No, do your thing, you know, just do it." So he allowed that kind of there was a comfortableness, I think, about that,
yeah,
like that playing interaction.
there was definitely a chemistry
Yeah,
with them two that wasn't with Ozzy, and they like Sabbath first reformed the original lineup in what 97, and they didn't actually do an album till after this. When was 13? That was in that long ago, was it 2000,
I think, yeah,
2013 maybe,
yeah,
but 14 maybe. Um, but Ozzy was always like, well, there's no point in doing a new album because we haven't done an album since 1978. How are we going to recapture that original.
Yeah,
And he had a point, and it turned out to be true because
yeah.
13 was a real dud of an album. Um, but I mean, part of that, I don't think Rick Rubin was the. I don't know why people keep working with him, to be honest. But all the blame kind of gets laid at Rick Rubin's feet for that album. But it's like, yeah, but
There's
guys,
no chemistry there. There's no chemistry. I don't, you know,
yeah,
Geezer's
but they
still writing
say it
good
now.
lyrics.
It's like, well, you've all got
Yeah,
you've all got parabolics, haven't you? Why didn't you
yeah.
say anything at the time?
I know.
Like that's always been particularly with Ozzy. It's always, oh, it's Sharon's fault. Oh, it's the project. Like it's never his fault. It's like you could have done something about it. They Ozzy's solo band, the drummer in his band was drumming for him on the tour, but he didn't do the album. Rick Rubin wanted the Rage Against the Machine drummer.
Yeah.
As like, oh, Rick Rubin wanted him. It's like, well, are you not? Did you not have no say in it at all? Then why didn't you
I
have say,
know.
Rick Rubin? No, you're getting paid.
It just sounds like a
We're using our drummer. Thank you.
corporate mashup,
Yeah,
you know.
it's again, you didn't have none of that with this. They just got
No.
on with it, you know. But
It's have you seen well you will have seen the documentary about the making of the devil, you know.
yes,
Yeah. Which is great. And you can see, you know, the tricks they're doing tricks on Vinny Appice putting talcum powder in his hair dryer and they're just getting back to just they're having a good fun time. You can tell. And you can tell in the album the strength is there because they're enjoying themselves.
yeah, yeah, and like I say, they're just. It would have been try this, you know,
Yeah.
bang, go for it, give it a try, you know. While but yeah, but it's a good way to end the career. So
I think it's become one of my favorite albums, which is
really,
saying a lot. You know, because there's something about it's poignant to me as well because it's you know it's that last album that Dio made, but there's something about that chemistry that goes on there that just really works. And I think somewhere there's a universe in the multiverse somewhere where Ronnie James Dio doesn't leave us and they make two or three more albums, or Ronnie James Dio never left Black Sabbath and they made several more albums
yeah,
in the
10 more
80s.
albums that would have been good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do like I like every lineup. I like every album by Sabbath. And I do think it is quite testament to Tony Iommi the consistency of the constant change in lineup, the fact that he maintains a quality through it all is actually I don't think he gets quite enough credit for it. It's kind of become a joke that it was constantly like yeah, but the quality did always stay the same.
Yeah,
The quality was always different, but it was still
yeah.
quality nonetheless.
Well, it's like I said earlier with Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die. You know, Tony Iommi's still making interesting riffs in there. There's still good guitar work. You know, the album doesn't hang together, but you know, and that's another story is the Tony Martin years with Sabbath are just some great albums there.
Yeah,
And Martin's got a whacking voice, you know,
yeah,
but they're often written off. You know, I mean, I felt that with the Black Sabbath reunion, I've probably said this to you before, with the final farewell to Ozzy, which happened last year, they should have had a true representation of what Black Sabbath was rather than it. But it was obviously not written about that. It was all about
Ozzy. Yeah,
Ozzy, so, you know.
I mean, with that Tony Martin box set that came out last year,
Yeah,
though, I thought was that going to sort of pave the way for for them to do a tour?
yeah,
Like, could have been the two of them. I mean, there's nothing stopping Geezer getting involved, and just like Heaven and Hell, call it Headless Cross or
yeah, yeah,
whatever, and then just do those 5 albums. And yeah, they haven't got to sell out arenas. Well, last thing I want is them to play an arena. I'd like a nice theatre, nice stripped
yeah.
down show. Um, yeah, I'd have lapped that up. But I think if it was going to happen, it would have by now. But
Yeah, I reckon Tony Martin would have been up to it, up for it.
yeah, But
Mhm.
I suppose Tony Iommi's he's not skint yet, so he's still earned a couple of quid off that last tour. So, but right as we've got to the end. We've gone through Dio's solo career with a couple of deviations. I always end um, if you've someone that doesn't know anything about the band I'm doing a retrospective on. I go right. Here's your buying guide. Here's the start. Here's where you start. So that doesn't necessarily mean the best, but where's the best way to start? So I would say for me, well, start at the beginning really and work your way through. You can't really go wrong from there. But I'd go get the first three albums and then treat yourself to Magica. Then I'd get Strange Highways and then I'd fill the gaps in from there.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Yeah. If you get the, I think that's a good option. I think if you get the bug from listening to those, then the others will be just a joy to kind of fill in because there is not a lacuna in talent in Dio's oeuvre. He just continues to make. They're all great albums,
Yeah, and
you know.
yeah, again, Dio his poorest album still sounds like a
Yeah,
Dio album.
yeah,
He never completely just went off on one and did a Cold Lake or a St Anger or
yeah.
something like that. He always stayed on the course. He always kept his focus. So and yeah, and like I say, he
Rare
was a
talent.
classy character, a great
Yeah,
talent, and just a great person. And yeah, there's fewer of them by the day in the music world, and yeah, it's just great to go over these catalogs and just go for one album and just analyze the evolution of the sound. And yeah, Chris, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for coming on. And yeah,
thank you for having
guys,
me.
get yourself onto Amazon. Go check out Chris's books. Obviously, you can find him in the Bizarre Archives, short stories with a whole anthology of different authors.
Yeah,
But
Bizarre Archives 9 is almost here.
that's in the works as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, you can check out Weird Trails, and you got sheer other things, a collection of weird tales. The Horror Beneath, which
working on the sequel to that now.
yeah, I didn't know if I could say it or not. Right, okay, so there you go. If you some Lovecraftian horror there, Confessions of an Occult Detective, and did I show that one off? Other
You
things,
did.
collection
Thank
of
you,
weird
mate.
tales, and then Lovecraft's Cats,
Yeah.
Lovecraft's Cat, in and
Which
other.
I checked today. It was 28 in the Amazon charts, so it's
Oh, there you
getting up.
go.
It's in the top 100.
Yeah, and then the magnum opus, the Albion trilogy. Again, you can get these individually or just go deep, go straight in a deep end and get the Housebrook edition. So yeah, get on Amazon
Cheers, mate.
and yeah, I'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciated it, and I've enjoyed
Awesome.
it. Good chat.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all soon.